So, this isn't exactly how I pictured motherhood. Co-parenting? Who plans for that when you're growing up? And here we are, just doing the best we can with grace, even when it's messy. I'm Jodi Grace, wife, bonus mom, and professional peacekeeper, and host of Co-Parenting with Grace, the podcast for families that don't fit into a tidy little box. Every week, we're getting real about what it's like to raise kids across households, hold boundaries with love, and find our footing in the chaos. You'll hear stories from moms and dads of all kinds and the professionals who help us through it. Because parenting, it's a team sport, and this team is blended. So grab your coffee, your earbuds, or your sanity, whatever you're holding today, and let's talk about it. Hello, friends, and welcome back to Season 2 of Co-Parenting with Grace. If you're listening to this while folding laundry, sitting in your car, or finally enjoying a quiet house after the chaos of the holidays, I am really glad that you're here. Today, we are kicking off Season 2, and I can't thank you enough for tuning in like you did to Season 1. It told me and showed me that you felt where I was coming from, and you hopefully benefited from what was shared. So bringing you another season was a no-brainer, and for that, I'm appreciative. I wanted to do something a little different today. Instead of, talking about this big exciting plan for the new year, I want to slow us down a bit. Because if you're anything like me, or like most of the parents I know, December didn't just end, it just happened to you. You didn't just sweep it up into the dustpan and toss it out and wipe your hands clean, fresh and ready for the new year. January always shows up and expects you to be fine. Like you didn't just run more, spend more, fake smiles more often than you wanted to for the last 2 months. So today isn't about fixing anything. It's about acknowledging what you just lived through and maybe for once giving yourself a little credit. There's this collective exhale that happens after the holidays. School is back, and then January shows up with this loud message of new year, new me, big goals, fresh starts. And these kids are headed back to school on sugar highs and game highs. I don't know about you, but that can feel like a lot because January doesn't arrive after rest. It arrives after months of running. Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, breaks in routine, school schedules, extra co-parenting communication, extra emotions, extra everything. And raise your hand if you're parenting a neurodivergent kiddo or two, or if you're neurodivergent yourself. How do transitions go over? Like a lead balloon. So when the calendar flips and the world expects you to suddenly have clarity and motivation and a 5-step plan for becoming your best self, it can feel almost unfair. It absolutely feels unfair to me. If you're still catching your breath, if your nervous system is still coming down, if your emotions feel a little closer to the surface, that doesn't mean you're behind the curve. That means you're normal. It means you've been in survival mode longer than most people even realize. January doesn't have to be about becoming someone new. Sometimes it's just about recovering from who you've had to be to get through the last few months. And suddenly, you realize how tired you actually are. Not just physically tired, emotionally tired. The holidays ask a lot of parents. And co-parenting in blended families, they ask even more. More planning, more communication, more emotional regulation, more compromise, more flexibility. And almost none of it is visible from the outside. I always laugh when talking to my friend Jackie this time of year, and I know you're listening, Jackie. In my single days, and she had a toddler, and I'd ask her to do something, and she would say, January Jackie is here. Do not expect anything from me until maybe next month. And I have never felt that more until having my hand in raising young children through the holidays. So for some of you, the holidays meant having your kids almost constantly. No routines, later bedtimes, more emotions, more mess, more needs, more noise. It meant coordinating schedules, navigating handoffs, communicating with your co-parent more than usual, and sometimes with someone who still triggers you. even when you're trying your best to keep things peaceful. And for others, the holidays were quiet, maybe too quiet. It wasn't your year to wake up with your kids on Christmas morning, or maybe you missed New Year's with them, or a birthday, or a tradition that used to be yours. And that kind of quiet can feel isolating. Grief sneaks in, even when you love your family arrangement, even when you believe it's what's best for your kids. Both experiences are heavy, and neither one gets talked about enough. Here's something I want to say clearly. The holidays look different in co-parenting families, but different does not mean broken. It does not mean dysfunctional. It doesn't mean you failed, and it definitely doesn't mean you did it wrong. Sometimes it just means you're navigating more layers than most people ever see. We talk about a lot being a blended or blessed family or bonus family, and that can be true and complicated because bonus means just that. More people loving your kids, more households involved, more traditions to juggle, more calendars to sync, more opinions, more people to please, more emotional labor, and more love doesn't always equal less stress. Sometimes it equals more responsibility, and that doesn't make you ungrateful. It makes you honest. It makes you human. So here's the part we usually skip over. The real work of the holidays wasn't the gifts or the meals, the photos. The real work was the patience you practiced, the moments you bit your tongue, the compromises and sacrifices that you made for your kids, the feeling you held so they didn't have to, the grace you extended, and sometimes without receiving it back. That work matters, even if no one clapped for it, even if no one thanked you, even if it felt invisible. So let me ask you something, gently. When was the last time you gave yourself credit as a parent? Not because you did everything right, not because the holidays went smoothly, but because you showed up, even when it was hard, and you kept going, you adjusted, and you chose your kids again and again. And that counts. You don't need to earn rest by burning yourself out first. You don't need permission to acknowledge that this season took something out of you. You're allowed to say, that was a lot, and I handled it. This is why I wanted to start season 2 here, because this season isn't about perfection. As I was preparing and researching topics, I saw a general theme emerging: mental health. It is always at the forefront of these conversations, and I wanted to dive deeper into your mental health, my mental health, specifically ours and not just our kids. Next week's episode is one of 2 with my therapist. He and I started work together about 5 to 6 years ago, and this conversation gets gritty. It's about marriage and relationships and how the foundation there is imperative in being a solid parenting and co-parenting team. Then, in that second episode, which will come the following week, we dive into reparenting yourself, which is a topic that you guys specifically wanted to talk about. And man, that topic can be tricky, right? One that with each generation, we learn about the healing and freedoms that come with facing your traumas and saying, I'm choosing to do something different. The unhealthy generational patterns and cycles don't have to repeat themselves. This season is about honesty, repair, and boundaries, and learning how to offer ourselves the same grace we give everyone else. We're going to continue to talk about the hard things. We're going to name the stuff people usually avoid, and we're going to do it with compassion for ourselves and for each other. But none of that works if we don't recognize where we are right now. And right now, you're still standing. So, if no one has told you this yet, you did a good job. You are always doing better than you think. And you don't need to rush into the next thing. Give yourself credit. Give yourself grace. And I'll meet you right here for the rest of the season. I'm Jodi. Thank you for being here. I'm glad that you are.